Like the rest of the world, India too is intensely debating the topic of population control. Prime Minister Narendra Modi brought the debate back to the discussion table in 2019 after he used the term population explosion in his Independence Day speech and even equated population control to patriotism. However, the statistics are alarming. According to a United Nations report, India is projected to overtake China as the world's most populous country by 2027. So the question is, what are the measures that are being implemented and what more needs to be done? In this session, we are being joined by our esteemed panelists who will be sharing their insights on population stabilization, the roadmap. So let me now begin by introducing our guests. Shailaja Chandra, former secretary at the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. She is also a prolific writer and an independent policy analyst with more than 45 years of experience in public administration. Also joining me is Dr. Ram Bhuj, the CEO of the Mobius Foundation. He has 40 years of experience in the field of environment science, ecology, biodiversity, disaster management, climate change, and has worked with various academic and development organizations and with the United Nations. I also welcome Poonam Mutreja, currently the Executive Director of the Population Foundation of India. Also joining us is Manu Gaur. As an activist for various social causes, Mr. Gaur drafted the first ever population control policy. He is currently the president of the Taxpayers Association of Bharat. A very warm welcome to all of you and thank you so much for joining us on this unique campaign. Now I'd like to begin our discussion with you, Dr. Bhuj. India is the second most populous country in the world, contributing to nearly 17.5% of the global population. Could you set the context for this and tell us how the situation stands as of now with respect to population stabilization?
Thank you very much, Priyanka, and a very warm welcome to my fellow panelists, Dr. Shailaja Chandra, Poonamji and Manu Gaur. In fact, we are very proud to have partnered with Beyond to launch this mission sustainability, which is very timely. And particularly, we have been working in the field of population for over 5 years now. The problem that, of course, you already underlined that India will overtake China by 2027 as per the latest UN report. And of course, we have almost 1/3 of the land mass than that of the China. And what are the issues? How we are going to tackle this? Of course, there are a lot of issues related to, like a lot of people are, there are figures which say that India is already on the population stabilization path. There is already fertility rate decline in many states of the country, but still what population rising, which is, we can call it as a momentum, the population momentum. I would just like to mention that let us focus more on the sustainability issues vis-a-vis population. That is why this topic of this whole campaign is population versus planet. This divide, the inequality, both in the gender and the societies, communities, yes, all those inequalities, resilience and sustainability, how we can take forward these issues. That is the crux of this whole debate on population sustainability.
Absolutely, Dr. Bhuj, very well said. Now coming to you, Ms. Chandra, please share your thoughts on India's population size and tell us, are family planning schemes lacking in any respect with respect to the government's initiative?
I think there is almost an assumption that we have a huge population problem. One must see population in terms of the total fertility rate. It should be well known that except for Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, we have 1.7, 1.8 as our total fertility rate, which means on an average, a woman is producing less than 2 children during her reproductive years. We have, in fact, a huge population dividend. When all other countries are aging, Japan, the West, we are having a huge, you might say, young population who would be able to be a wonderful workforce if only they were educated and healthy. Population per se is not an issue, but in some of the states like Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, which have some time to go before they reach the 2.1 fertility rate, There you have districts, and I'm very glad Mobius Foundation picked on Baraj and Barabanki. You see, if you pick on the ones where the TFR is very high, then you can focus and target families which need family planning advice, family planning, I'd say contraceptives. Mm-hmm. And you'll be very glad to know that the latest NFHS figures, the NFHS 5, it doesn't cover UP, but it does cover Bihar and other states. Definitely, not only has contraceptive use gone up, it also shows that there is an interest in trying to raise the couple protection rate. So that is a very good sign. The only thing that is worrisome is female sterilization in India is unfortunately the only way, practically the only way, which is called a modern method of contraception.
Coming to you, Ms. Matreja, please weigh in and react to what Ms. Chandra just said. And what does India need to do to work towards this goal of this very ambitious goal of sustainable population stabilization?
I have to say that I agree with every word and every statement made by Shailaja ji, and it's very comprehensive and it reflects not just the reality but the data. We need to increase investments to provide quality family planning services to women and men of reproductive age. Our population is going to increase and overtake China and then further increase, and the decline will begin again in 2100 years. Currently, our budgetary allocation for family planning is 4% of the national health budget. This should be significantly increased, and sadly it got decreased in the last budget.
Right.
We did a study called Cost of Inaction, which reveals that adequate investments in family planning over the next 15 years can lead to an additional 13% increase in India's GDP, prevent 1.2 million maternal deaths, 2.9 million infant deaths, and avert more than 206 million abortions. So investing in human capital is the key to achieve these outcomes. The Prime Minister, as you said, talked about creating awareness on family planning,
right.
And we need to create awareness. We need to change social norms, change the behavior of people, have men more engaged. There is enough for us to do positively.
Now over to you, Mr. Gaur. Please share a few insights on the policy. Once in effect, how could this policy help in stabilizing the population of India?
इस देश को एक रेस्पॉन्सिबल पेरेंटहुड एक्ट की जरूरत है जो कि ये बता सके इस देश के लोगों को कि अगर आप स्मॉल फैमिली नॉर्म्स को पूरा फॉलो करेंगे तो उसमें आपको क्या-क्या बेनिफिट्स, क्या-क्या incentives दिए जाएंगे.
Dr. Butch, do you think a hardcore population law, which is well written, enabling this goal of population stabilization, will be a stepping stone in meeting this ambitious goal?
We are on the right track as far as population stabilization is there. Many states had earlier certain legislations to regulate the family size and honor the couple's right to decide on the size of their families and the means what they want to adopt. Again, that was promoting family planning, all those legislations, while limiting the size of the family. India is also bound by many international conventions, particularly the International Conference on Population and Development in Cairo. And India is one of the signatories to the declaration. And as per that declaration, also we cannot have these coercive measures. And probably all those incentives and promotions that are being applied, of course, there should be more finances, there should be more means, more counseling, more education, and spending on social and environmental sustainability issues.
I'll just like Ms. Chandra to weigh in at this moment. Now, according to studies, India's total fertility rate has been on a constant decline from 2017 to 2021, with the highest fall of 1.37% in 2018 from 2017. So, Ms. Chandra, do you think that people are making themselves more aware of the overpopulation situation, moving towards a stabilization?
Oh, yes, without a doubt, because we have a large base, and that is because of past, you might say, momentum, those people are going to have their 2 children. Some are opting for just 1, but 2 you really cannot deny them, and they are well within that. I would only say that the bigger picture of population must be addressed, and quickly. Once I read that the government might even think of bringing a law which would be able to push up the age of marriage for girls from 18 to 20. That would have a huge effect, because the people who are going in for early marriages and quickly having 2 children, 3 children in quick succession would be the ones who would be brought under that law. So that law is absolutely in order, and it will certainly protect women from having to have unwanted pregnancies very early when their body is not even ready for anything. They're so anemic themselves. That's one. Second thing that I would definitely say in this context is you need to track families, and we have done it at the time of COVID. We have done it for antenatal care through the ASHAs and for under the NRHM. So
right.
India has tremendous experience. If one tracked the families at risk in every village, which is not impossible, the panchayats can be given this kind of a task and incentivized to keep track of families at risk, keep them under a kind of, you might say, targeted vision that their children must be born healthy, spaced apart. I'm
right.
sure that we can succeed. That is the more positive way of being able to stabilize the populations that need this kind of support.
Now, Ms. Mutreja, we've heard you say earlier that India does not need to have a fear of population boom. Can you explain that statement?
I will go by the data of the government and NFHS. And the total fertility rate is down substantially. It's come down to 2.2. So from 3.2 in 2000, when the National Population Policy was adopted, the Family Welfare Program is voluntary in nature. And as far as fertility, even the NFHS 5 data goes, except Bihar, in fact, and Manipur, Meghalaya to a smaller extent, the total fertility rate is 2.1 or less. Right. Implying that most states have attained fertility, replacement level of fertility. In every state, there is an HMIS. We know how many sterilizations are taking place, how many condoms are being used. Fortunately, the Indian government may not invest enough money, but right. It is investing enough in data collection.
Mr. Gaur, do you think an increase in awareness levels among the population, especially the youth, is leading to a control in the population to a certain extent?
Of course, awareness means a lot, and awareness के साथ-साथ भी एक चीज बहुत जरूरी है, incentive based population policy, proper population policy. Limited taxpayers हैं और इतनी बड़ी population को उन्हें feed करना है, तो इसीलिए जो free bees बांटे जाते हैं, उन सारी चीजों को देखते हुए अगर आप उस पैसे को वेस्ट करने की जगह अगर आप उस पैसे का प्रॉपर यूज करें उन लोगों के ऊपर जो कि स्मॉल फैमिली नॉर्म्स को फॉलो करें, जो कि रेस्पॉन्सिबल पेरेंटिंग को फॉलो करें, जो कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी ने 15 अगस्त 2019 को एड्रेस भी किया था।
right.
और जहां तक राइट्स की बात है, रिप्रोडक्टिव राइट्स, अगर हम फ्रीनेस की बात करें, हमारे देश में ये सबको पता है कि हमारे देश में महिलाओं को रिप्रोडक्टिव राइट्स के नाम पर कुछ नहीं मिलता। वो अपने रिप्रोडक्टिव राइट्स को एंजॉय कर ही नहीं सकती। उनके अदर फैमिली मेंबर्स डिसाइड करते हैं कि उन्हें कितने बच्चों को जन्म देना है। अगर हम प्रॉपर इंसेंटिव बेस्ड पॉपुलेशन पॉलिसी लेकर आते हैं तो उसके लिए बहुत अच्छा होगा, ये महिलाओं के लिए बहुत अच्छा होगा।
Right. Now coming back to you, Dr. Budge, based on the 5 P's, that is people, planet, prosperity, peace and partnership of this sustainability development goal, how can we combat the adverse effects of overpopulation on the environment, climate and other depleting natural resources, of course? Very quickly, Dr. Budge.
5 P's, which is the foundation of SDGs, the people, planet, prosperity, partnership and peace. People, of course, it's closely related to the human beings, to the population, and it's a basically unfinished agenda of Millennium Development Goals, removing poverty, health, education, water, all these provisions. This is what people-based and directly impacts population. The other one is planet, and goals 13 to 15, these are related to the climate change, consumption patterns, biodiversity, all these, and urbanization. These are impacting because the population as well as the population impacting these goals. So what we call as Great Reset, and
right.
of course as the making extra effort towards achievement all these 5 Ps, and sustainability is the key to population stabilization.
Ms. Chandra, please share your thoughts on the schemes introduced by the Indian government to combat this issue.
First, let me go to Prerana. Prerana is a wonderful scheme which says anyone below the poverty line, and those are identified, have a child after 19, they would be given a post office savings certificate which would be encashable after 7 years, 7,000 rupees if it's a girl baby, and 5,000 if it's a boy baby. Second scheme which was wonderful was Santushti, which is that you encourage male sterilization, and if so many cases are done, well, the compensation that Jansankhya would give for that would be X amount. Now, Santushti, according to the National Health Policy 2017, we were to aim for 5% of male sterilization. Do you know that the latest NFHS figures and even the previous 4 show that it is not even 0.5%? This is unacceptable. I mean, if you keep talking about women's reproductive rights, how can men do this? And there are important people like police commissioners and all who have had this vasectomy and gone public to say, I have not suffered in any way in terms of my sexual life. And the third initiative, which was really wonderful, was we set up a call center, a BPO, not a helpline. And we had 10 agents male and 10 agents women sitting in the Mohan Industrial Estate. And they were supervised by a gynecologist. They had a monitor and a drop-down list, and calls would come on a toll-free line from Purnia, Shravasti, that really, you might say, districts which are very, very low in the ranking. And they would call and ask questions about family planning in the privacy of their homes and get free advice on what is to be done, supervised by a gynecologist, but answered by people who had done zoology, botany, and were trained at the Maulana Azad Medical College.
Ms. Chandra, thank you for that. Very well said. And I think women's reproductive rights are central to this ambitious goal. Coming to you, Ms. Matrecha, tell us, do you think the government schemes, the family planning schemes and otherwise, have been successful in meeting this goal?
Yes, I believe so, but they need to do more. There are new schemes in place. For instance, there is the Mission Parivar Vikas, which focuses on 146 of the most backward, high fertility states with a lot of incentives, with a lot of investments in, empowering women by working with their mother-in-laws, the husbands, the partners to try and get women access to family planning services. Second, I have to say that the government of India made a commitment in 2012 at the global meeting on family planning and women's health, where the government of India made 2 global commitments, spending additional money, but also reaching out to 48 million additional women. Third, government has signed the SDGs, which Mr. Buj has been referring to, and we are committed to the Sustainable Development Goals. I believe Government of India is serious.
Ms. Matrecha, thank you so much. To wrap up our discussion, I'd like to take my final question to Dr. Buj. Now, India's population right now is 1.37 billion and counting. So what should the roadmap be for the next decade and even the next 50 years?
Yes, Priyanka. In fact, a lot of documents, both by the United Nations and our own family planning policy document, talk about a roadmap. We are implementing a project Aakar in 2 2 districts. Of course, we are going to reach out to 5 more districts where total fertility rates are high, and we are trying to implement these measures, providing the facilities, incentives, promotions, livelihood and reproductive health facilitation that we are doing on ground. And of course, education and advocacy, counseling at the grassroots level. These are some of the measures that we are already doing. The other thing, policy measure, is about urbanization, which is spreading like migration from rural to urban. And it's creating problems to sustainability, environment, as well as population as well. So all these issues need to be tackled in a very meaningful and effective manner. And I think that is what should be the roadmap.
Absolutely. Just before we wrap up, Mr. Gaur, I'd like to get a reaction from you. What does India need to do to tackle the issue of population explosion in the next few decades?
इंडिया आईसीपीडी में सिग्नेटरी है, लेकिन अगर आप आईसीपीडी का कोई क्लोजिंग स्टेटमेंट को पढ़ेंगे तो वो साफ तौर पे मेंशन करता है कि कोई भी कंट्री अपने लिए अपनी पॉपुलेशन पॉलिसी अपने हिसाब से डिसाइड करने के लिए फ्री है, वो इससे बाउंड नहीं है, लेकिन कोरेसिव मेथड्स को दूर रखते हुए.
Right. And with that, we wrap up this interesting and informative discussion. As our esteemed panelists have pointed out, awareness and government-enabled schemes will be crucial in stabilizing India's population. I'd like now to thank all our panelists for joining us today and sharing their views and insights. Thanks for joining us on this unique campaign with me, Priyanka Sharma. And coming up after the break is another intriguing panel discussion.